wider arm spread, wider leg spread too. Here we go again. Pump, pump, stay on the plane. Full, belly, pump, drop, push, unweighting. There's not quite enough, is there? Pump. There's the full body pump. Into the foot strap, and then the harness. Right. I'm starting to bear away as I do this. I don't think I've ever pumped quite so much in one session, and I'm knackered and out of breath. Hello, and welcome to another ride-along session here in the beautiful Vassiliki. I'm saying beautiful, actually a cloud keeps poking across in front of the sun, so it may not be quite as crystal blue or lovely green colours that you're used to seeing. But that doesn't matter, the wind is still blowing just about. And that's what this video is about really, is I'm just about powered up on this 6.1 AC0 and 100 litre Futura. But it's going to take some work to get me onto the go. So this is all about pumping. How to get planing when you're a little bit underpowered, giving that sail a bit of a pump to get it to go faster. Here we go. I think to start with, we should know some basics of getting planing, because reminding ourselves of those core fundamental skills of how to get planing will help us utilise that and getting the most out of every breath of wind and pumping onto the plane. So things, for example, are actually really definitely being aware of exactly where the wind is coming from. If you're not quite sure, then you'll end up either battering off downwind too far off the wind and it doesn't really work, or too close to the wind and it doesn't really work. The other great thing about knowing exactly where the wind's coming from is I'm now looking for those gusts, these darker patches coming towards us. So when I see that gust coming, I know it's the right moment to give it a bit of a pump, and I'm actually quite likely to get going. You're trying to pump when there definitely isn't enough wind, and you're just wasting a lot of energy. So, start close to the wind, check where the wind's coming from, and wait for your gust. Now, there's loads of different forms of pumping. I'm going to start and build them up slowly. The first one, the most common one, the one that I use every single session, whether you're powered up or not, is fully hooked into the harness and a gentle arm-style pump like this one just here. It's not a full body pump. I'm not pushing like you might see some of the foilers trying to get going up to. It's just an arm pump. Let's slow that down again. All about getting going today, not what you're doing once you're on the go. Now, hopefully, if I've got two cameras on and working correctly here, what you'll notice is the harness lines stay taut, stay under tension the whole time. And this term sheeting in is basically what I'm doing. But it doesn't mean pulling the back arm by bending at the elbow. It's a push of the front hand. You see it happen every time I do it, I speed up. It's a push of the front hand, keeping the lines under tension as the back hand then pivots slightly to pull the sail in. As soon as you unhook like that, it really doesn't work anymore. So yes, I am pulling the backhand, but it's more about the alternate action, the push and the pull. That's what sheeting in really means, and that's what I'm doing repeatedly, in and out, just that little bit. Open and close the sail. Getting up to speed and stepping into the foot straps. Now the key element, or going back to basics for how to get planing, is a flat board is a fast board. And that's what I'm trying to do when I'm pumping, is getting the power from the sail, channeling it correctly to get the board to go flat and fast. If I just hang back on the tail of the board, basically it sinks the board, it's definitely not going to work, even if I'm pumping correctly. Now the simplest way to get planing, or the simplest words I could use, is drop and push. Now what that means is starting to lean back against the sail. This is dropping me lower without just hanging off the boom. This is me pulling the harness line straight down. I'm not going to channel the power correctly. Harness lines are pulling perpendicular, square away from the sail. This is me dropping, pushing the front hand and pushing the front foot. And just that action, lucky bit of timing there in the gust, but just that action of drop and push gets you to start to accelerate. As I drop and commit to the harness here, what I'm kind of doing, although yes, I'm pushing through the front hand, but I'm effectively unweighting the board. All of the power is going through the sail and into the mast track and accelerating me from there. So yes, I'm pushing through the front foot, but I'm sort of unweighting my feet. Now that's the exact same thing when I start to pump. Now when the arms pump, there's my pump. All of my harness is being pulled around my waist into that harness, and I start to accelerate. The same thing really starts to apply when you go for a bigger full body pump. Yes, I'm going to hang down off the boom and give it a bit of a pump here. There's the full body pump into the foot strap and then the harness. Now I'm going to have to play that back in slow motion, and what you'll see is that the same, let's call it shimmy if you like. Arms moving almost like you do in the floss. If you can remember the floss, that was sort of spiking a couple of years ago, wasn't it? It's that sort of action here, 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 just done out of the harness. I'm not just pulling the backhand in and out. That's all very well me saying this is the right way to do it, but actually how can we learn this? Because a lot of time people learn and end up just kind of pulling the sail in and then out, in, out, and it's super physical and it feels like there's power, but it's not really accelerating you, it's just giving you a heavy sail. So, a couple of exercises we can do once I've gone around this corner. Firstly, for the smaller arm pump, I'm definitely not going to get the board going right now, but the exercise to do is release one hand at a time. So there's only ever one hand that's actually gripping the boom, meaning I have to commit my weight to the harness, meaning when I push the front hand, I get a bit of power. When I push the backhand, it depowers slightly. Do that action repeatedly, and then, as that gust just hit me a little bit, there's your arm pump. Now then, the full body pump is definitely harder to do. But the way I want you to learn it is at speed, blasting along, either in one or both foot straps. So either in the front one or in both straps. Make sure you've got wind and power. Slightly wider arm spread, unhook. Now try it. I'm starting to bear away as I do this. Actually, it's giving me a lot of speed. And while I was doing that, it wasn't on and off with the power the whole time. I've got wind in the rig, I've still got power the whole time. So it's a much easier way to get the hand this physical pumping action that's going on.
So this is the training exercise for the full body pump replayed in slow motion. The great thing about this training exercise is you're already at full speed, so the rig doesn't need to do that circular motion that it's normally doing. I can just concentrate on what my hips and my body are doing. So what isn't going on here is just a violent thrusting motion with the hips. That's what it looks like from a distance. Yes, my hips are dropping out and back and up and forwards, but actually what's going on is that channeling, driving of the power down through the mast and hard through my front foot, and that's what really starts to make the board accelerate. From a distance, yes, it's just a violent hip thrust, but push the front foot hard, push down through the mast, push the front foot hard and down through the mast. And as I do that, I stand tall. It feels like I'm getting my head above the boom as I stand up straight here, pushing down.
But it is the same action when you're not quite going and you need to give it that extra boost. And it's also the same action, either one or maybe a blend of the two of them, if you're not quite planing out of your jives. You can't just grab the rig and stand there and do nothing and expect to still have speed. Knowing how to get the board going with that extra little push will make the world of difference. Let's see. There, push, 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 and I'm back into the harness and away. The arm pump, another little exercise that's great for really getting the feeling of power, keeping power on or releasing and putting it back on again, is I want to go hard upwind right now. There's the shimmy, if you like, the arm pump. And what it allowed me to do was keep a bit of wind in the sail, depower, power on, depower, power on. And I managed to pinch, to nibble my way 10 or 15 degrees closer to the wind. Now the reality is this should be happening anyway. It's just a lot more subtle than what I'm currently doing. I'm trying to make it. There it is again, look. The wiggle, the shimmy. These movements here. Both arms remaining extended, but I am, in quotation marks, sheeting in, sheeting out, or pumping the sail. So a little summary at the end just there. Really make sure you know where that wind direction is. I know it sounds obvious and a bit of a silly thing to go on about, but you've been amazed the number of people that I'm windsurfing with who are way too high or way too low, or even just sitting on a beam reach straight across the wind, not doing anything. We should be going up and down and wiggling around a bit to find that sweet spot where I've got enough power, or not enough power, or too much power. Here we go again. Pump, pump, stay on the plane. Full body, pump. Drop, push, unweighting, and then I've only just powered up. I've lifted my hips. I'm in a fairly straight stance, trying to get the most of every breath. But even as I go into this drive, I'm slowing down. I've not got enough wind, I know that. Maybe. Not quite. Not quite enough wind to pump on the exit, but I think you get that idea. I was recapping just then, wasn't I? This little arm shimmy. This is me making my way back upwind, knowing I'm underpowered, but taking myself closer to the wind, feeling out the gust, feeling out the wind, and waiting. I may unhook, wider arm spread, wider leg spread too. This is me thinking maybe it's a full pump. There's not quite enough, is there? Pump. Just about. Lift and lock on my toes. Not quite enough. I don't think I've ever pumped quite so much in one session, and I'm knackered and out of breath. But there you go. Hit me up with the usual comments down at the bottom. Here we go, arm pump into the foot strap. Lift, lock those hips to maintain the speed. I only went just below a beam there. Now I'm away back upwind again. Now into the back strap. Woo, and I'm out of breath. Thanks for joining me. Hope this helped. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think of it. Maybe you've got a slightly different technique going on as well. Like I mentioned, there are plenty more, but these two that I've just taught you there, they're the most common ones that I use all the time. Can really make the difference for getting you on the plane underpowered and exiting jives on the plane.